Hello, this segment is all about what I call the healing formula. What is the healing formula? Well, as a life coach, the healing formula to me is pretty much all about change that happens in our lives. It can be from dramatic change to minor changes, to accept change, and to embrace change, as we are all doing right now. We are embracing changes in our lives, in our world, and every day is a different day, full of possibilities, full of changes, full of hope, full of everything that can change on a dime, right? Okay, so the reason why I would like to talk about the healing formula and share it with you, because it's so important to be able to embrace change, which is hard to do for many of us. Look, we're all human beings. And what are human beings? We're human, so we have human emotions, and we're beings. We are living, breathing, feeling things. And everything is attached with emotions. And everything is attached what we call our egos, our self-identity. That's right here. And we embrace who we are, of course, and we embrace on where we want to go and how we want to go and how we can strive to do things. How many times have you tried a project and maybe it went half-half and you said, okay, I'm just going to give that up, and you let it go? How many times have you been what we call hijacked, and that brings about change? And how often do we kind of run and flee? And how often have we had reactions which I call triggers? They're almost like bullets. They just kind of dart right in there. And they can be a negative, and that will cause, again, hijack. And another thing that we call brain science, which I'll explain later in this video as well, on our memories that are stored and how we react to the past and not being in the present, or our ideas from our egos to create this illusion for something for the future that isn't quite there yet either, right? Because that's the future. We're here and now. Personally, I've had a hard time embracing here and now. I'm always looking to the past. I'm always looking to the future. And I'm so busy with all that, I forget about what's right here and right now. And when I when I was taught the healing formula, it all changed for me. For the first time, I could be for the present. For the first time, I didn't have to rely on my past, and I didn't have to have these huge hopes for the future. I could just be here right now. That's what I'd like to teach all of you. Since I am doing this video, I'm doing it during one of the world's biggest pandemics, which is COVID-19. Did that trigger anyone that I said COVID-19? It's a change in everybody's life. It's a change in our daily lives. It's a change with our future. It's a change that has been put upon us, right? And sometimes I feel like our beings are kind of being pushed a little bit, right? Marianne Williamson had said, it feels like there's a pressure to our being, and our being needs to come to center. And our human emotions need to come to center. That's what the healing formula is all about. It's about honoring your emotions, letting out your emotions, saying your emotions out loudly, writing them down. It's funny because it seems like we're so shy to really speak our truth on what we really think in the moment. We have to always kind of hold it back. Now, when we're grieving and there's a big shock, in our community, we're actually actually held to a different demeanor where we can cry, react, shout, scream, say what you want to say, because it's accepted, it's okay during a grieving situation. People come together. But when you just want to be human and just let out an everyday stress to speak what we call speak your truth. Speaking your truth is just saying something that's truthful to you without getting a reaction from anyone else, which I'll also explain later in this video. And to be able to really focus in on who we are as human beings. Okay, so here we go. First of all, I've been saying human beings because there's a facet in our lives where we run on our human emotions, and we're also beings. We are living, walking, breathing, thinking. We're souls on this earth, right? So you put that together, it's human being. It's the mind and it's the body. And I'm going to explain a little bit about that because that's what goes into our egos. Now, ego doesn't exactly mean egocentric. Ego is self-identifying. Ego is something that you can identify with and that kind of leads you. Now, ego sometimes would like to protect you, and sometimes it might sway you in different directions or put this illusion, what we call an illusion bubble, around you, because that's your world's illusion on how you're going through life, what life looks like, and where the world's going. That's actually an illusion. It's actually your mind processing. It's actually processing in the neocortex. This is the brain science, which is right here in the middle of your forehead. And that's your processing center. That's where everything comes in from the day you're born to starting to understand things, 3, 7, 12 on up. And everything is stored in there. That's where your memories are. That's where your dreams are. That's where your processing is right here at the neocortex. Then we have this little guy, size of a peanut. I always go like this because that's actually the size of it in your brain. If you just put it right here, right a little bit behind your temporal, that is the amygdala. What is the amygdala? Well, what that is the neocortex takes all those thoughts, brings it into the amygdala. The amygdala processes it, turns it into our human emotions. And there's actually, believe it or not, there's actually chemicals from the brain that will distribute that. For a best example is hijack. When you get hijacked, if I say COVID-19, hijacked, the neocortex processes what that's all about, brings it here, and then it releases everything from a chemical called cortisol, and it will release into your body, and it will actually go into your muscles, go into your fright, flight, and flee when people like run from something. And then all of a sudden your endorphins, which comes from here as well, charge and almost electrify your muscles so that you can run. Oh, the body's telling me I gotta run now because I just saw a big bear in the woods that's gonna eat me. Well, yeah, so that's what that is. So then going back to the healing formula, we compare it to like the grieving formula. What's the grieving formula? That's when you go through grieving. That's the shock, the denial, the sadness, the anger, and hope. And the shock is hijack. The amygdala, everything you remember, going to here, telling the body what to do. Denial is actually almost like suppressing your feelings, getting away from it. It's almost like when someone passes away and someone takes charge. and they're not dealing with their grief. Instead, they're dealing with the funeral. They're dealing with the guest list. They're dealing with the wake. They're dealing with this and that because their mind is on overload. The neocortex is like, shoot, this is what I need to do. Goes in the amygdala. The amygdala shoots out, and there's this whole thing. And sometimes they end up not grieving until after the affair is over with, after the funeral. And then you can, after that, you could go into sadness and anger. And then after sadness and anger, sharing it, getting it out, then you've got hope. So what is the healing formula again? And I'm going to read this because I have my notes right down here. The healing formula is grieving, same thing, just like shock. And once you go through the grieving, you go through the forgiveness. It means the forgiveness of your human emotion that's happening in the moment, and you can feel it and honor it instead of disallowing it and denying it. And then there's acceptance. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to be sad. It will flip-flop on you. It can be both. It can be angry and sad. And again, this doesn't have to be of a person passing away to feel all this. It can be your life just changed because of COVID-19. Your life had just changed because you can't do your daily routine that you were doing before. Your life has changed because you can't go to that gym or you can't see that play. And if you do, there's going to be a lot of requirements to be able to do that, right? So what I'm saying is that is the shock. That can be the, oh, I got to do all this. And then just saying, shoot, I am so mad that I have to do this. I'm mad that I have to wear a mask. I'm mad that I can't just go to the gym and start working out on my favorite gym cycle. Instead, I have to wait for it to be sanitized and make sure there's no more than 10 people in the room, right? So you've got all that going on because that's what goes on with me. I go through that all the time. But now I've learned to go through it quickly because this is one of the things about the healing formula is it could take days to go through it or it could take seconds. It's all up to what the situation is and how you're accepting it at the time. So I've gone through grieving for the healing formula, forgiveness, acceptance, accepting your human emotions, be it angry or sad. And after the acceptance is surrender, surrendering and being okay with it. There's actually something that we call ordinary forgiveness and radical forgiveness, which I'll be sharing in this video later, where ordinary forgiveness is you just let it go. Radical forgiveness is a true form of forgiveness where it is the truth, it's gone, it's not bothering you anymore, which we'll go through. So we've gone through grieving, forgiveness, acceptance, surrender, then all of that equals to ownership. What do you mean about ownership? Because you own all these feelings. You're relating to all these feelings. You know all these feelings. You've honored all these feelings. I kind of call it the I'm going to date myself here, but there is a commercial years ago that was called the iced tea, Nestea plunge, where all these actors in the commercials would fall. Usually they fell into like a swimming pool backwards. They fell into some water of some type backwards. And it was just the letting go and just owning it. Kind of like those workshops that you've seen where someone falls and it might be an office workshop and the office workers are behind that person. They're supposed to catch them, hopefully. And because of that, there's ownership in allowing these things to happen. And you know you'll be okay. So let's go through this a little bit. Now I'm going to do the healing formula exercise. Originally I was just going to talk about it, and I've done a lot of videos on this already. But I thought I would take you through as I was taking you through as one of my coaching students. And This way you may actually get more out of it, because I'm going to be actually asking questions. So if you have a pen, paper, pencil, whatever, even on your phone, you can take notes. You can stop me, take some notes. Because I'm going to be talking to you like one of my students. And I love doing this. So here we go. Here we go. So the healing formula. First of all, I would like to share with you the healing formula. This is what will allow you to be free of this illusion that you have about yourself. As I say it, I would like you to write it down. The healing formula, okay? Grieving, forgiveness, acceptance, surrender equals ownership. The healing formula begins with grieving. What do you normally associate grieving with? And write that down, just like what I just explained earlier. The healing formula begins with grieving. It's all about loss, some type of loss. It could be loss of a human life. It could be loss of your daily activities, like I was explaining before. It could be loss of a certain routine that you always have done. Sometimes it could be, for me, being out of coffee in the morning and not having my coffee ritual. And that's what I mean about how the healing formula can happen in a matter of seconds. Okay, shoot, yeah, all right, I don't, it's a busy day, all right. But I can say it out loud and let it go. And I know I'll get coffee somewhere, right? There's a Starbucks around every corner. So, let's see. So when you think of loss, there is a loss here to your, kind of like your ego, your original illusion that I was talking about earlier, cannot use it in the same way that it always has, and identifying it. You know it now. Do you see how this works? So, if the ego, your ego, identifies with it, and all of a sudden it's not there, well, what happens? Your world kind of goes upside down for a moment. That's when hijack can happen. That's when you have to rely on something to identify with. And then the illusion is done, right? Everything is past. And we have to work on that. So, the healing formula begins with grieving, and that leads into forgiveness. Forgiveness will automatically lead to acceptance. Acceptance will allow you to battle or surrender automatically occurs. Surrendering will automatically occur. This is all equals ownership. When there is ownership, then there is nothing to fight against it. When there is nothing to fight against, then you don't have to keep identifying yourself with your illusion, meaning the ego illusion. You neutralize the illusion of whatever the original illusion is. Okay, what did all that just mean? Well, what it is when you get into forgiveness, you can let it go. Everything relaxes like a breath of fresh air. It's like when people get hijacked or triggered, the first thing that I always say is take a deep breath in. Allow that oxytocin chemical that's in your brain to flow in your brain into your neocortex, to go down to your amygdala, to throw out oxytocin that goes up. That's why they always say take a deep breath. When someone's panicking, that's why people will say just breathe, in whatever form of panic that is, minor panic to extreme panic. Just breathe, because you want to throw that oxygen in your body. It also gives you a chance to rationalize gives you a chance to ask yourself questions during a hijack situation. It gives you a chance to be present during a shock moment or an identification moment like this. That's what they mean about illusionary ego, of kind of letting that go, letting the mind pause. It's like a little reboot. Okay. Earlier I was talking about there's two terms of forgiveness. There's ordinary forgiveness and radical forgiveness. Ordinary forgiveness is you just let it go. Okay, I see this, I'm letting it go. Radical forgiveness is a true form of forgiveness. Everything's happy, everything's good. You can let it go. There's no little memes up here from your ego still chattering at you. You can let that go. So let's go back to, I'm going to go back to the stages of grieving only because I want to focus on the sadness and the anger. And this happens in anything. This happens anything from not having your coffee in the morning to having to change your daily routine to not being able to go to the gym or to have to wait. Someone passes away. There's all forms of stages of grieving, right? And we all do go through sadness and anger. The sadness and anger are human behaviors. They're the placeholders for our human behavior. Because when we're in denial, there's no feeling, right? Denial's like we're just going to go on, we're going to continue with something else. And that is anything. It's just not from a death. It's also from a situation. A denial of not wanting to see or be aware or feel what's going on in the moment of any given situation, be it for work, family, whatever it is. So, and remember, the sadness and the anger flip-flops. So when you tap into it, it is, it can feel like, well, actually, I've got healing formulas, supportive emotions here. That's really good. When you feel anger, anger is annoyed, frustrated, cross, apathetic, peeved, irritated, cranky, crabby, bored, impatient, critical, cold, displaced, detached, indifferent. Anger in its mood state, meaning right then and there, is angry, mad, offended, antagonized, bristling. Sorry, I mispronounced that. Bristling? I'm not quite sure what that means. Okay. Sarcastic, aggravated, arrogant, indignant, inflamed. Okay, so intense anger could be hostile, aggressive, livid, outrageous, furious, disgusted. Okay, so you can go through all those range of emotions, but it's actually okay. We're told it's not okay to feel any of those, right? It's not okay to act out. Well, of course, you don't want to act out in a sense like that, but you can own the feelings, honor the feelings, and move through those feelings, right? As long as you acknowledge and you're aware, that's the whole idea of this whole life coaching jazz, is that you are aware of your emotions in the moment so you can correct those emotions, meaning you can feel those emotions, not that you disengage or you go, oh, no, because where do we go into when we do that? We go into denial. It's okay to say, hey, I'm angry. Hey, I got to hit this pillow right now. It's okay. You're getting your emotions out because we're human. We're human beings, right? Okay, now I'm going to talk about sadness because it's the same thing. And remember, these flip-flop in our journey of the healing formula and of grieving. So sadness, light sadness would be regretful, disappointed, disconnected, distracted, low, feeling low energy, listless, wistful. Sadness in its mood state can be sad, weary, down, melancholy, mournful, weepy, grieving, gloomy, downtrodden, heavy-hearted, sorrowful, desperate, discouraged, drained. How many times have you felt that? Like, a lot of people will say, I'm so drained lately, but why am I so drained? Well, there may be something there underneath that drained. There may be something there of maybe I've been working too much. Maybe I haven't had enough sleep. Yada, yada, yada. You can go on with it. But at least you're focusing in on what your human behavior is and your human emotion. And it's okay to look at that instead of just go by it and go, okay, well, maybe I need a triple espresso. That'll get me out of my drained mind, whatever. No, the triple espresso is your feeling and what that's all about and why. And then we go into intense sadness. Okay, intense sadness can be despairing, bleak, despondent, depressed, anguished, inconsolable, grief-stricken, hopeless, heartbroken, morose, bereaved. So that's the most intense sadness. And if we look at what that's all about, and how do we get through that when you feel like that? Well, again, the healing formula. This is what it's all about. To actually go there feeling it's okay. Like when I say when people grieve, when they're grieving a loss of a loved one, it's okay to cry. It's okay to do things. There's many religions that even have customs on that to take care of the bereaved during that time. Communities come together, families come together. It's okay. You get the hugs, you get the long talks, the holding of the hands. But when you feel like this in normal situations, like let's say COVID-19, and our challenge is we're like, oh no, we're going to get through this. It's okay. Oh, we're going to do this. Well, what's wrong with saying, okay, I feel a little fear right now. I just got to speak my truth. I feel a little fear, feel a little anxious. I'm a little mad that things aren't going to go the way I thought they were going to go this year because I had all these plans. But if you say that, and you say it out loud, or you write it down, or you journal it, or you post it, like on Facebook or Instagram, saying, hey, I'm peeved today. How many times will you get like a little bit of likes? How many times will people give you little hearts? Because you're not just peeved, everybody's peeved. You're not just lonely, everybody's lonely. You're not just sad, everybody's sad. Same thing with happiness. Everybody's happy. Everybody's this, everybody's that. So to be able to speak your truth and to be able to just say it out loud without even looking for those hearts or those thumbs ups or those little silly faces or the wow expressions. But to just know that you are able to tap in and to be able to acknowledge what you're feeling in the moment, in that moment, is totally okay. Okay. So I also want to go through, let's see, I was just talking about where it would be with ordinary forgiveness and with radical forgiveness. I'm going to read this little ditty to you because it's in my notes, and this is what I read to my students every single time we're learning this. So stay with me here. The first is ordinary forgiveness. With ordinary forgiveness, you are trying to let go of the past by saying or thinking that you can just let it go and let bygones be bygones. When you practice ordinary forgiveness, you let go of the past, but hold on to the idea that you have been wronged by another person or situation. That method usually requires a great deal of your time to feel any result from. You may even come to the point of thinking that you're forgiven until another situation arises, which brings up the old wounds and feelings that you have pushed down, like denial, sadness, and anger. Radical forgiveness is the true form of forgiving. Radical forgiveness is coming to the realization that, seen from spiritual perspective, nothing wrong ever happened. Therefore, there is nothing to forgive. The radical forgiveness asks you to look at the present moment in order to heal the past wounds. You can shift the way you look at the present reality, and by doing this, all the seemingly existing problems, such as everything the original illusion has created in life, can dissolve. It can dissolve away. This is why we start the formula instead of forgiveness. Acceptance. Okay, I'm going to explain about acceptance. The acceptance that we are talking about within the healing formula is the acceptance that is a deep ability to tap into an inner peace. You may, let's see. Okay, so acceptance is that gap place where there is no good or bad, it just is. So there's no gap in it. It just is. Now the surrendering. This is where it feels so good to just surrender. This is the radical forgiveness that we're talking about. This is directly connected to acceptance. Even though they are separate in the formula, once acceptance occurs, surrender is a natural response. This is because there is no need for battle. So you're not battling, you're not warring, you're not trying to say, okay, now I got to let this go now that I've acknowledged it and I've done it. It's just a release and it feels so good. As I say, that could take days, or it could take moments, or it could take seconds, or it could be just like that. Depending upon, again, what the situation is and how you're treating and dealing with it. Now, sometimes I have a little note here on the side that I just looked at that reminded me. Sometimes our loved ones are so compassionate towards us, right? Our friends. And they hate to see you go through stuff. If you're sad, if you're angry, and you're getting in touch with that. Sometimes, people will just pull you right out. They're like, oh, let's go shopping. Let's go and have some coffee. Oh, let's do this. Let's go walk. Yeah, it's all great and it's all good. And you can definitely do that. But as coaches, we have a thing that we like to sit in it, because we have to sit in our stuff. And that's when it's like, I got to sit in it. I've got to have a good cry here. I've got to sit at it. I'm going to be angry for a little bit, to try and rival through what this emotional response is and what my human response is, and see if there's something that can create something so you can let it go, speak your truth, and get into that radical forgiveness where, whew, okay, I'm over it. Because the thing is, we don't hold on to our emotions for the rest of our lives for that one particular situation. There's that thing where if you have a really good laugh, there's a really good comic, or there's a funny situation you're watching a TV show, movie, and you just start laughing and laughing, and you're laughing so much that your gut is hurting and your back starts to hurt, and because when I laugh, I always go, oh my God, my back's hurting. That means I'm done. But it doesn't last forever. It just lasts for that moment. And then it dissipates, right? And it's fun, and your body's alive. Well, it's the same thing. It's like when you go into that hijack, or when you go in moment, or you go into this radical laughter, is what I call it, where it's like, oh my God, those moments only last for a short time. It's almost like, it's like if you've ever cut yourself or you have a wound and then you treat it, and while you're treating it, it's like ouch, 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 ouch. Then after a while, it starts healing, and there's another layer of skin, and then after a while, you could even touch your arm, bat it, and it's not going to hurt anymore, although you know it's there, but it's not going to hurt anymore. It's kind of like our emotions. Not saying that we don't get sensitive to our emotions, because we do. We honor our emotions. That's what this whole exercise is for. But at the same time, we're aware of it, and we can move on from it. We don't have to stay there. It doesn't have to hurt like the first day that cut got cut, that bruise, that whatever that wound is. Now it's solid. You're over it. It's done. But you know it's there, because that's our human emotion, because we're humans. We're not going to let that go. No matter how intelligent we get, or forethought we get, or whatever. Our behaviors are our behaviors. And our humanness is our human behavior, right? So there we go. Okay, I want to look through the notes and see. Okay, ownership. The last step of owning all this that I've been talking about from the beginning, right? Ownership. Ownership means there is no need to remove the original illusion or anything related to it, because you own it. It's yours and no longer can cause pain. Talking about that wound. It no longer causes pain. You own that. You own that wound. You're like, okay, yeah, that was done like 25 years ago. It's fine. I'm good. So let's go through the healing formula one more time so you've got this, which is the healing formula. Grieving, to forgiveness, to acceptance, to surrender equals ownership. And maybe those words mean something now. And when you write those words down, really take a good look at that. And the grieving formula, because everybody always tries to email or comment down below, what was that again? The grieving formula is shock, denial, sadness, anger, and hope. And that is the typical grieving formula. The healing formula is more of a life coach formula. So there's many ways to use this, and there's many ways right now to use this, since our whole lives are changing, right? And things are shifting. It doesn't have to go through a big change, but they're shifting. And there are shifts for all of us right now. So the whole idea is to look at the healing formula, see how you can apply this from missing a cup of coffee in the morning, which is my hijack, to something really big. And to see how you can process that and go through that. There's also, I have this saying that I've used for years. I'm even writing a book on it, and I have a workshop on it that I'll be giving soon, which is called "The Future Isn't What It Used to Be." Because we all have this ideas through our ego and what the future is going to be like. The future is going to be like the Jetsons. It's going to be this. It's going to be that. But we really don't know what the future is until we're there. And half the times, things have shifted in our lives. We're going to a goal for this, and all of a sudden, it's more over here. Not saying that's negative. It's just that circumstances and things happen where it leads you to other directions. And for me, my life has led me into so many different directions than I thought I would be doing when I thought I was a kid, to a teenager, to a young adult, to now. And to embrace those shifts when they happen, because they always lead to something even greater. And I don't mean to be Pollyanna or whatever about it. I just mean that it leads to greatness when we can shift with it, and when we can own when things become different, and when things change, and we can embrace those changes. Because when we embrace those changes, we get into a whole other state in our life. And then we can accommodate those changes to still continue with our life. So whatever that is, I know a lot of people feel right now that their life might have stopped. But if you look at it that it's actually still going, and every day it goes even a little bit more and things shift, it's kind of like a reboot in our lives where it just shifts. And here's a whole other direction. You know, it's kind of funny. I always think of Wizard of Oz, Dorothy, when the house is lifted up, the big tornado, and Dorothy is swirling around in her bed, holding on for dear life. And then she looks out the window and she sees these characters flying by the window in the tornado. I think there's a cow, there's the mean old lady with the bike that took her dog that turns into a witch. Well, what's going on in that moment for Dorothy? Well, actually, in that moment, she's shifting. She's seeing different things. Her subconscious is bringing up different things. It can be from humorous things to Aunt Em that she absolutely loves that passes by the window to the wicked, mean lady that turns into the witch. So there's transitions that happen. And what I really love in that movie is when the house actually lands and you hear this big thump, because you know the house has landed somewhere, and Dorothy looks up, has Toto in her arms, her little dog, and everything's in sepia tone. You know, it was 1939 when this movie was made. And my favorite part, when she walks into the living room from her bedroom and then walks to the front door and she opens that front door, what does she see? Color. What does the audience in the movie theater see the very first time in 1939? Color, because she's opened that door. If she didn't want to embrace change, if she didn't want to go out there, she just would have stayed in her bedroom and hid, right? Then there would have been no story. Just a house on top of a rainbow. But it's much more. She embraced it, faced her fear, opened that door, walked out, Technicolor. I kind of feel with the COVID-19, with everybody hanging out and have been hanging out, and some people still hanging out, it's the same. It's like opening that door again and going, okay, well, what's out there now? I've been shut in for 11 weeks. I've been shut in for 3 months. What's going on? Well, it's still there. It's beautiful color. And it's still there. And there's new shifts. There's a new journey out there waiting for you. So the idea is to be able to embrace those. Tap back into a little bit of your past, sure. You know, the neocortex back here will remind you of certain situations and things and how those might shift for you. Go down the amygdala, the brain science again, will shoot out to make you aware of your human emotions. Taking that big deep breath, letting it out, letting all that beautiful oxygen into your body, releases the oxytocin, which I tell a lot of clients, oxytocin, once that hits the brain, it's like rainbows and butterflies and unicorns. It's beautiful. It's Technicolor. It's like Dorothy walking out through that door. So I hope this is all making sense for you, because I know this is a lot of information within a 45-minute video, if not a little longer. And I just want to invite you to really look at what the healing formula can do for you. And also, I will be giving a series of workshops, so you can look below. My first workshop will be listed down below, and you can check that out through Eventbrite and go on from there. I do all my workshops on Zoom with a class. So, and I also do one-on-one coaching as well. So if you're interested, all my information will be listed down below. You can contact me and you can DM me, direct email me. My email is down there. You can reach me on Facebook and on Instagram. And once again, we can take it from there. All right. So I hope this helped a little bit. I hope it helped during this kind of like crazy, I'm going to say the word epidemic time, COVID-19 time. I hope that didn't hit some triggers. And if it did, what can you do about it now? How can you make it better for yourself so you can keep on track? Okay, so I'm coming to you from Maui, Hawaii. So with much aloha, stay healthy, stay safe, and stay beautiful. Okay, aloha. Thank you.